Hello everyone, welcome back. Today is my March wrap-up. I have read 14 books in the month of March, out of which 8 were actual physical books, and then I guess 6 were audiobooks. I just had to count there for a minute. Anyways, let's see what these are. The first book I truly finished it in March, because actually I started this in the hospital. And everyone was just making so many comments about this one. Well, it is Under the Tuscan Sun. This is in Hungarian. This is my beautiful Hungarian yellow edition. And I talked to the anesthesiologist about this, about most of the nurses, about even to the doctors about this book. Everyone was so crazy about the Tuscany and the Tuscan Sun and the movie. And there were some misconceptions about this, of course. But the main thing is, I loved this book so much. This has actually gone on my favorite books list of all time. I love this book so much. This was so perfect to read. It brought, honestly, a little bit of sunshine into the hospital bed with me because it was so good. It's not a particularly happy book. It's not a sad book. It's a book about loving life itself. Loving to live with the joy of life, enjoying it, happiness. It was so uplifting and so great. And I love that it is about a house and a garden, of course, everything to do with property, how they were just renovating the house and just completing the garden and making it pretty for themselves. And I loved this so much. About food, oh my god, there was so much eating in it. I just kept being hungry all the time. I kind of gained back my appetite reading this book after surgery. This book truly makes me want to read other books by Frances Mays. I think that's how you say her name. So I ordered 2 more of her books of Bookline because I loved this so much. Actually, one of my favorite books of all time, currently. Loving it. The second physical book I finished, I was already at home by the time I read this, but I had to go back to the hospital because I am receiving radiation therapy. Because that's the kind of sickness that have had, actually, not anymore. But anyways, I need to be treated for it. I need to have radiation therapy. And while I was waiting for my appointment, I took this book with me and I read it in 2 days. This is so amazing. This is a French book. And then the title would be, this is in Hungarian, but the original title is in French. Your life starts when you realize that you only got one. That is the title of this book. It's kind of a long thing. It's a self-help type of a book, yet it is a novel. It is about a 38-year-old woman who has lost her way in life. I mean, she has everything she has ever wanted. She has a kind of like a blah career. She has a husband, and they have kind of lost, their huge love that they had before. They were just kind of getting used to each other, and so the everyday life has kind of dulled their love for each other. She has a kid who's kind of not as close to her because she just keeps on telling him off, not having fun together, she's lost in everyday life, and she just wants to break out from there and have a meaning. She wants to find meaning in her life. And then she takes on this program or whatever, where in a couple of months she's just finding a true purpose for herself. And it was really, really, truly inspiring. I would highly recommend this if you can get this. I don't know if it's in English because I didn't find an English version of it on Goodreads, but if you can find it, truly amazing. Loved it. I actually read it in 2 days, so that's cool. I think it was then I took on finishing Game of Thrones. I have read 160 pages of this previously, and then I thought, okay, this has been on the current rereading list for so long. I want to finish it. I was at home, in bed, on the couch, whatever. I thought, okay, I totally have the time to finish this book right now. And I did a reading vlog. It will be in the description. I liked it, but I have seen the show, so the whole plot was kind of ruined for me. But the writing is beautiful. I would recommend it. Then I kind of felt strong enough to just tackle my current reading list yet again, and I finished the Iliad. Out of this, I think I've read 140 some pages, and it is 300 and something. No, 411 pages. This is the Hungarian edition. This was released in 1952, so it's kind of a valuable book actually. I think it should be. Very pretty, very beautiful, like old-timey print and font. It took me kind of like 3 days to finish it. It wasn't that bad, but it was taking its toll on me because it is a tale of war, the War of Troy, and I just wasn't into it because I don't like to read about fight and fight scenes, which were the scenes that just wore me out of my brain in Game of Thrones, and then I went ahead and read the Iliad, which is also war and fight scenes. But I found the audiobook. I just kind of hit myself over the head. Why didn't I think of that sooner? And I was in song or chapter, I don't know how it is for you guys, but for me it was song. It has songs, like 24 songs. And I was only on song 18 when I thought of, okay, let's just find the audiobook for this. And then I read this with the audiobook, and then I finished it in, the rest of the day. So, I would highly recommend this one. First of all, if you like war and you like fight and you like Greek mythology, I would highly recommend reading this with the audiobook if you can get it, because it's so much easier. First of all, the Greek names would be so much easier to listen to than trying to figure them out yourself. It is a classic. It's worth reading, just so much better with the audiobook, with the help of someone else reading it to you. Yeah. And I wanted to read something real fun, so I went on to read The Restaurant at the End of the Universe by Douglas Adams, and I annotated the funny parts, which you can tell there are hardly any. All of these, oh my. It is the same level of fun as the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Fun, I got through this in, I think, 2 days or something. So, yeah, done. Then I kind of wanted to read a bit more about style and fashion because I've read the Dita Von Teese book. And I thought that this would be similar. Well, it wasn't. This is, in Hungarian, it translated it to classical fashion, but classic fashion or something. But the original title is Vintage Fashion, Collecting and Wearing Designer Classics. Well, this is basically a reference book of fashion in the 20th century from the 1900s to the 1980s. It's a little bit disappointing that the 90s weren't there. I think that would have been perfect, but I don't know when this was released. So probably in the 90s or something. No, 2006. So the 90s really could have been there, but I guess it was too fresh in people's minds back then. But it was good to read about fashion, about making clothes, the history of clothing, the history of styles. I liked that it was a bit too detailed, honestly, for my liking. It read kind of not as easily as I would have liked, but it was good. So if you want to know more about fashion, pick this up. Then I wanted to get on with a series that I've started a couple of years ago. So I read Living Dead in Dallas. This will be, actually, a couple of these books will be in a reading vlog that I've filmed but haven't edited yet. So I think that will be up kind of like next week or something. So I've read Living Dead in Dallas, the second book in the Sookie Stackhouse series by Sherilyn Harris, and I didn't like it. Unfortunately, I did not like this. The first one was so much better. I just found Sookie Stackhouse to be so annoying. Like, she's so annoying. And of course, the only girl in the universe that is attractive ever. No, actually not, but she's the only one that everyone wants to be with. I just have no patience for that. And then the way she talks, and it's just no. And she cannot make up her mind whom she likes, about the guys she likes. No, just no. I have the third one in the series. I might want to give that a go because that might be better. I think I've read it on Goodreads that one's better a tiny bit than this one. But I don't think that I'll be purchasing any more of these books because it was, no. Annoying. Then Breakfast of Champions. I wanted to read this because I thought it would be funny, and it wasn't. I mean, I read it fast, but it has pictures in it. I don't know. Yeah, you can see some drawings in there made by the author himself. It was a tiny bit vulgar at times, and I did not care for it. Unfortunately, I know it's a classic, but unfortunately it's just not something for me, so no. And then the last physical book that I read this month was an Agatha Christie. This is in Hungarian, and the original title is Down Witness, and I loved it. I just loved this so much. It was good writing finally, because I felt honestly a reading slump coming on because of some of the books, like the Breakfast of Champions and the True Blood, which isn't what it's called, it's the Suki Stackhouse series, but the True Blood show was based on it, so that's why I keep on calling that, even though that's not its name. But I felt that they were just making me not want to read at all, so I felt like I needed something I know I would like. Therefore, Agatha Christie, thank you so much. So good. I gave it a 4 stars because that's what these are, honestly. Not 5 because, not my favorite book ever, but it's such a standardly great thing to read. I loved it. Then to the audiobooks I'd listened to. Let me see on my Goodreads, because I have honestly no idea. I've been listening to so many things. Yes, I remember. Yeah, the first audiobook that I had listened to, actually I listened to that in the garden while I was gardening, and it was such an amazing time, is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I'm sure I did not say that right, but we are rolling with it. That book was nice. It was nice. It was nice to listen to it. I loved the era. I think it was kind of like 50s era, taking place in Mexico. I love that. Naturally Mexican Gothic, duh. But the twist was kind of familiar to me, because I'm sure I have heard it somewhere else. Like, not exactly this, but I've seen so many movies, read so many books, that it wasn't such, an unexpected thing to experience. But it was a nice book. I love the writing style. The atmosphere is great. I loved the era. I loved the place. It was cute, but not my favorite book ever. But I would highly recommend, especially the audiobook. It was so good. Then I was so glad to have found the Maltese Falcon audiobook, because it's a classic crime story, which was fun. Sam Spade is tiny bit misogynistic, but I mean, time and era and all of that. But it was a fun experience. I like a good classic style of crime story. So I was really, really happy to be listening to that one. Then it was one of the highlights of the month. I had listened to Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter and Nominous Omen, if I might say. Like, the name tells a lot because her name is Slaughter, and there are some things like that in her books, kind of. It was an amazingly exciting book. I really couldn't stop listening to it. I think I listened to it like in 2 days or something, and it's kind of a long audiobook. It's 12 hours or something, or 14, I'm not sure exactly, but it was really, really exciting. It is triggering. It is kind of awful to listen to that sometimes because of the horror. Sexual assault, murder, kind of taking people hostage. It was tough, but it was so worth it because the writing is awesome. It's just awesome. It's so exciting. I'm just really excited about Karen Slaughter's writing. I am really excited about Karen Slaughter's books, so I want to kind of read them physically and also listen to some more, because amazing stuff. Then it was also a really fun thing because I had listened to Cujo by Stephen King. The only problem with this one was, honestly, it's nothing to do with the book or Stephen King, is the fact that I had listened to this in Hungarian. And I don't want to shade the lady who has read it in 1990 because it was recorded in 1990. But her English just sucked so much. And then she said Kajo, not Cujo. And that was getting on my nerves so much because I know that it's Cujo. Everyone says that in English. Because I know it's Cujo, and also her English accent is just, it was without any logic. When there was a guy named George, she said Georges, as if it was in French, like with a French accent or whatever. And when there was the guy called Roger, then she said Roger. It's like Roger with a Hungarian accent. But then why not Roger? Like, where is the logic in that? So her... Oh my god, so her English sucked, but it's a lovely book. I would highly recommend it. Actually, I thought it would be worse. Spoilers ahead. I thought the whole thing would be just about the lady and the kid being stuck in the car with the dog outside. But there were so many layers and plots and just so many themes explored in the book that I would highly recommend it. It's a good book, just please don't listen to it in Hungarian. Then another highlight, kind of like possibly the best audiobook I've listened to like in a while, was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. First off, the whole audiobook was done so well. It was perfect. It was a perfect experience. But then the book was amazing. It was exciting. There were twists. There were things you kind of thought of, then things you suspected, things that turned out differently. It was such an amazing thriller. I loved it. I loved it. So these were the books that I've read in the month of March. I hope you like this. And please let me know what you have read. And then until the next time, read something. Bye-bye.